Well, good afternoon. We're having a public hearing today on the proposed marijuana control ordinance. Copies had gone out. I have a few extra copies here. If you want a copy. It's like 41 pages long. So today we're just getting feedback, public comment, opinion. I think before we get started, if someone wants to say a prayer or blessing before we get started, it's kind of the proper thing to do.
Schubert, did you get up, sir?
Schubert, can you? Yes.
Great Spirit, Grandfather, Kantan Kansula, Opeti Kili, Wopula Tanka Pilamilo. Thank you for this day like we always should. Each and every day is a gift to be alive. Always remember those who went before us. Keep in our hearts their families. Give them strength to carry on. Keep those that are sick in our hearts. Those that are in mourning. Those that are struggling every day. Life here on the Rosebud. Always remember we work for our people. All our decisions made are to help our people move forward in a good way. Aho, wopula, lamilo, kapi, oyase.
So, before we get started, just a little bit of background. This has kind of been a work in progress for a while. There were lots of things to figure out, and lots of things that are still kind of up in the air as to how we move forward on business models. Some tribes have taken the tack that they want to control it from seed to tail. Others have taken one of the more liberal approaches to who can grow, under what circumstances, licenses, kind of the compliance part of things, to make sure that things are going right and doing well. There's also kind of this national discussion that's been taking place. Lots of states are going into medicinal marijuana, some recreational marijuana. It still sits on the Controlled Substances Act, and we think there's still movement in Congress on that to get that removed. Ideally, they want the FDA to take over kind of like regulation of marijuana, but that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. Also in South Dakota, I believe it's Amendment 27 is also up, but we suspect it's going to take them time, once it is up and running, to come up with what we think we've come up with here today. So hopefully we should be able to hit the ground running a lot sooner than the state, take advantage of that time crunch for them by already kind of setting something up on our own. So today is another step in that process, and I'm encouraged to see a number of folks here today, and just to get the discussion moving, because this is one of the important parts of making laws, is the public input. So with that, I will open up the floor to anybody who wants it, and we can begin the discussion.
Are we having a specific amount of time for each person?
I think since we got started a little bit late, I don't want to limit too much. I would just ask that people be kind of respectful of people behind them, just because, for instance, some places are like 5 minutes and then you're done. I think this warrants more than 5 minutes. We don't have a room full of people, so I don't really sense the need to limit anyone. I think if we start getting into a part where we're kind of repeating some of the same things, then I'll just, kindly, politely play the music, as they say. So I don't think a time frame. Yes, sir, Wayne?
Do we have is it just your email, or someone that wants to send a opposition or in favor of?
Public comment, just basically to send it over.
You?
Yeah, they can send it to my email address, and that's Lloyd, Lloyd, Guy, Guy, at RST, Rosebud Sioux Tribe, -NSN, Nancy Sam Nancy, .gov. And I can certainly forward those on to council as they come in, certainly the Judiciary Committee. Thank you for that reminder. They can also drop them off at the Attorney General's office. I imagine we'll be taking those comments probably for the foreseeable future. This has already had one reading at the council level, so if there are any changes that people are suggesting, we can still make the changes, but it still goes back as a first reading. So with that, thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it. That's the reminder. So is there anyone who'd like to go first? Just announce your name and we'll get going. Sir, I believe you were here first. Did you want to start us off?
Sure. My name's Kifan Luchasha. I'm a Rosebud Sioux Tribe member. I grew up here. Came back here in 2014. I run my own small business. I've always wanted to open a dispensary. Since I came back here, I've been trying to be involved in this movement, so to speak, to try and legalize. I've done a lot of footwork, so to speak, also, and trying to learn what's going on with our tribe and as far as what's happening out there now, what's trying to be implemented, and what I think are concerns, will be concerns of everybody. And to be honest, right now, I just kind of want to sit back and listen a little bit. I do have a few questions and suggestions for a few things on this, but like I said, for now, I just kind of want to sit back and soak in some more. Maybe there's something I missed that somebody else read, or if there's something else I'm unaware of, because I have a lot to say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know you were here for our medical marijuana public comment as well, and I welcome you back. Okay, what's next?
I can go.
Lisa, go.
I know we're in an informal type setting, but my name, for those that may not know me very well, is Lisa Cologne, and was born down the hill here in Rosebud. I've been an animal community member pretty much my whole life. And my profession has been in agricultural sustainability research and production. And I have a degree from 1997 from South Dakota State University in agriculture. So it has been a lifelong passion of mine. And I just want to first of all thank the council reps that are for being here, and for the opportunity to present comments and or concerns that I have pertaining to the Title 17 Marijuana Control Ordinance. And so I'm just going to, thankfully, Bob Goff, the late Bob Goff helped raise me, so he's like, stay on point, kid, And I always think about my late Uncle Charlie, too, saying, be thankful to have these opportunities to provide our input, but also not to be afraid to share concerns and to address things. And I don't want anyone to think I'm in opposition. I'm not. I'm not in opposition of this process. I'm very much pro-cannabis. I'm very much pro-tribe. And I'm very much for helping. So I think I'm going to mention some of that in here. But so on the record, I emailed this that we typed up, Tara and I, for a testimony, and then she'll kind of speak to the business end of things whenever I'm done with my little 2-pager. And I appreciate those of you that are here also. I'm really interested in hearing what you may have to say too, and exchanging information with you before you. So when I reviewed Title 17's marijuana control ordinance, I gotta admit, I didn't get through the entire length of it. In the last few days, I did designate, 4 or 5 hours to it, but it's a lengthy document. But the first thing is under Chapter 1, our general provisions section 17.1.1, which is cited as the marijuana control ordinance. Okay. Under section 17-12, the findings and purpose, it states that the tribal council of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe hereby finds and declares that in F, is where, okay, so it has a lot of good things in there. I've got no problem with A, B, C, D, E. I don't even have any problem at all with F. I just really believe that what was overlooked was something to the effect to include we the people. Okay? So understand the economic part of it, understand the legal implication of it, just need to now include the people, which is maybe an oversight. So I put a suggestion into Lloyd Guy, such as in the section F part of 17-12, marijuana is a medical plant that has been utilized by indigenous people of the Great Plains for generations. Rosebud Sioux Tribe intends to protect the tribal agriculture interests in medicine and hemp production, use, and management. Cannabis is a medical plant and its properties can benefit a wide variety of illnesses and social issues. The people, being members of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe, are to be allowed the opportunity to benefit from the use, economic development, and business collective of creating, implementing, and operating cannabis establishments, products, and medicines sold on the Rosebud Reservation. So, you know, that's a huge difference between, right, what I'm going to get to down further. So also in G, and these are just suggestions, you know, you can take them for what they're worth. Under F, G, it talks about the preamble and the Article 4 of our Constitution, Tribal Constitution. So I really examined Article 4 again in our Constitution, and I was looking for, you know, an exact statement where, you know, it says the Tribal Constitution authorizes our governing body, and it does to some effect, right, in N of Article 4 under the Constitution, which states to charter subordinate organization. This could be Redco, it could be a whole new organization just for the development, right, of hemp and all cannabis products, for economic purposes and to regulate the activities of all cooperative associations of members of the tribe. So again, it's really talking about the people in that, and us being a huge part in that. This translates to the inclusion of us for any land, business, economic development plan. So, you know, with this and everything that's going on, you know, and you guys can answer this here in a few minutes, if you have the answers. I'm not expecting everything today. But, you know, is there a current business plan for cannabis as a tribe? You know, who's putting that together? How are we tribal members supposed to provide comment, right, on a 41-page Title 17 ordinance in 3 days? So, and then another question that relates to all of this, and a concern on the TLE shareholder side of things, is I'm not against it, but I see TLE, you know, supporting a lot of these economic ventures out of our, you know, just whether it be securing property or maybe land leases, just certain things down the road, even for growth. Okay? So in that, we just have to be mindful of the shareholders and asking for permission, right, in those meetings and so forth to divert those resources even to this. So those are some things I was also thinking about. And then within Article 4, it talks about the powers of the Rosebud Sioux Tribal Council in Section 1. And of course, you know, it talks about purchasing and acquiring land and no land trades to non-Indians without the consent again of the people, of the tribal members. So just being mindful of this, you know, as we expand it, this is going to be huge, you know, right, if we do this business venture properly. And just being mindful of, like, working with us within the tribe first and exploring those economic ventures, like, you know, what our fellow tribal member over here is going to talk about, I'm sure, later, because he's reserved some of his time for us. But to take into account everybody's interests, talents, and skills and contacts. So this presents the question of how does a tribal member such as Tara and I, that are already in the business, work with this business. You know, in B, under our Constitution of title, or not title, but you know, the fourth part of that, the tribal council shall develop plans and consider implications of these decisions that we make over the next 7 generations. So you guys, I'm sure, think about that every day, right? And as council members and just as even directors of programs or what have you. So I guess what I keep coming back to is the people, the tribal members, need to be considered. There's a lot of us out there that, like myself and Tara, that for the last 2 years, I mean, we've been going to Redco, visiting with Troy, you know, contacting our representatives, going and talking to TLE, you know, and God, it just really feels like they don't want our input. And the general consensus has been, oh, we already got it handled, don't worry about it, you know. We're doing this, we got this, and this is what we're doing. So it's more of like informing us tribal members after the fact of already creating the business, creating the preambles, and then later on, you just, I'm not saying you know, but what I guess it feels like is this is just the process for whatever you've already set up, or Redco, or whatever entity this is, right? That's gonna control this venture. You know, for one, who is it? What is the venture? Is it gonna be a brand new organization? Is this project, you know, controlled completely by Redco or Sichanu CDC? And I have no problem with that, but where does it belong? And then from there, how do we as tribal members have that opportunity to be involved from the input stage at the beginning stages, rather than just accepting all the time, you know, what through closed doors with council always being closed. We don't really have like the freedom to come into tribal council meetings like we used to. Thankfully, us guys at Antelope Community have a pretty darn good rep, you know, Jordan, and I do see her bringing up on the floor, even if she's uncomfortable doing it sometimes, and sharing, and some of you guys, the true issues that your communities are talking about. I do, and I commend you all for that you're bringing up those issues. But I guess I'm here today to say, we as tribal members really want to be a part of this, and we want to provide our input, because this is a huge deal, and this ordinance is going to govern a lot. And once we actually vote it in, it's going to be set. Yeah, we're going to be able to make amendments to it, but it's really missing the people, so that was my whole point of that. And I did give it to Lloyd so he could email it to the rest of you guys. I'm not hiding my little document. I'm sure it'll read better than, you know, me mumbling around. But then I'm going to talk real quick and wrap it up. Under Chapter 3 of the marijuana ordinance, the control ordinance that we're having a hearing about today, in the licensing section, 17-3-1, it reads, marijuana businesses operating fee. Each marijuana business under the jurisdiction of the tribe shall be organized under tribal law, no problem with that, and shall be wholly owned by the tribe. I do have a little bit of a problem with that. You know, economic development is not supposed to be just for the tribe. Again, it's almost like that EIA relationship, right? We're going to do for you, we're going to tell you what we're going to do, and it's going to benefit you, and don't worry about it. We're doing it, and it's going to get done. Well, that's not putting any faith or investment in your actual tribal people, like the gentleman here that came, or like Tara, who's had to grow out in California, and whose husband still is helping tribes with their grows, create their grows right now in this state. You know, that's how the BIA treated us our whole lives. We're going to do it for you. And I just don't want to see that repeating. And I, you know, so that should be allowed this input, and I appreciate that. And I don't think that just a few people in the room makes up what really should be a public comment. I think this room should be full of people, because I'm sure we have 1,000 tribal members that would love to comment on this, but for whatever reason, in the last 3 days, they didn't even maybe understand that this ordinance was on the table and the significance of it. Because I know I never saw this document until Monday or Tuesday. So, you know, a lot of people may say, how am I even going to comment to that document if I've never seen it? And just be overwhelmed by the sheer 41 pages of it. So back to the section 17-3-1, okay? If the tribe wholly owns anything to do with marijuana, how does that support tribal member business development for those who've been proven successful in this business or agricultural ventures and services, technical services, and even the marijuana science world? You know, I lived in Hawaii for 5 years. Every farm that I know of in Hawaii that I was around has their own grow. People grow their own plants for their own medicinal use. They don't even go and buy from anybody. And they have the ability to do that. They can grow 20 plants, you know, or whatever it is. So with this, the way it's written, it just really is lacking economic development that I see happening on the ground if the tribe controls it versus people. If, you know, 10 of us jump out there and are able to gather our own support, work under the tribal laws, work with you, and create our own businesses, we're going to immediately hire 40 people. We're going to you know what I mean? You're going to be able to see that on the ground rather than one organization of the tribe controlling it, saying, oh, you can, and this is how you're going to do it. But, oh, wait. You guys are making all the money for us. Right? When really economic development wise, it's going to take 2, 4, 6 years for us to see that on the ground in terms of daycare centers or elder care centers, right? Or supplementing programs. So the way this ordinance reads really lacks opportunity, economic development for people, for actual tribal members. Okay, so moving on real quick, wrap this up. Section 17.3.2, the licensing requirement. Every employee of a marijuana business shall be required to obtain from the Cannabis Control Commission. Got no problem with that, but you know, this is public information. You know, what is this Cannabis Control Commission? Maybe I didn't get a chance, like I said, to read all 41 pages. How was it formed? How can we as tribal members become involved in this commission? What tribal organization is responsible for the licensure education, the training programs? Because obviously, right, if we're going to offer licenses, we have to have training programs and we have to offer some kind of services for those licensings. Have funds already been raised? Where's the money currently coming from? And then also, again, that information I really wish was available to us in the public. And just putting in here to close this up, you know, Article 10, which is our Constitution, in our Constitution is our Bill of Rights. Section 1, the government of the tribe shall not keep us from freedom of speech, press, expression, and petition the government. You know, with only 3 days to look at this, I'm not saying I'm totally against it. I see most of it's pretty good in this Title 17. It just is really lacking the people. And then just, you know, not denying the access of all of this information to us, the public, underneath our Bill of Rights. And then Section 2, Article 10 of our Bill of Rights also talks about, you know, retained powers. Powers not granted to the government shall be reserved to the people. Well, we don't really have any laws on this, right? And that's why we're having a public hearing today, is because this is a part of the process. So we have to be included and have the right to ask council to not maybe stop these proceedings, but you know, if we're already dead last, if all the other tribes already have their businesses, if we feel like we're against the wall for time and we're just missing out, I mean, what's another 2 or 3 weeks, you know, to say, hey, let's take a step back and maybe just admit we really have not allowed the tribal members the ability to provide their input, not only in this ordinance, but what else is going on? What is this commission?
Like, what do we have to do as tribal members? Do we have to like just beg? Do we have to hold a sign outside? I mean, what do we physically and professionally have to do to be included in this process? So I guess that's why I'm here today, is just to remind us of, you know, our tribal sovereign rights as people to be included. And I really see that missing in Title 17, the mentioning of the people, of how we're included in that, or how it is a medicine, that we have that right to access organic and natural medicines. So with that, I want to, Tara, you know, to talk about the actual business side of things, because we're partners and we've actually been meeting personally on marijuana and within the tribal boundaries for over 2 years. And so it's not just kicking rocks around. I mean, we really have spent a lot of time and effort in research and actual physically getting to know what we want to do.
So first off, this is a capitalist business. So no matter what, we're going to have competition. Oh, my name is Tara Moore. I'm from Rosebud, tribal member. My mom is Debbie Wright. My dad is Lester Moore. My uncle is Butch Artichoker. My auntie's Karen Artichoker. She started the domestic violence program for in Mission. And I have been in the cannabis industry for about probably 8 years now. First, me and my kid's father, who are now former business partners still to this day, we started a collective in a business called Red Crow Cannabis in California. We partnered with a tribe, Santa Rosa Cuya. We had a medical collective of 800 kids with cancer. Her name was Tracy Ryan. She had an organization called Canna Kids. And on that, we were 100% compliant with the state. We did the ordinance. Our investor was a very well-known man named Presh Galanti. We gave the tribe $100,000 to start their organization. We raised $8 million in our compound. We had a huge facility. We had chain link fences, all followed by the code of everything. And 2 weeks before harvest, the tribe, the attorney, I can't remember her name, Sandra Brown, she did not believe in tribal sovereignty. And she completely, raided our grow. We had 800 tons of marijuana, medical marijuana with like license for kids with cancer plants and registered in the state of California, and they raided our grow. So me and my ex, we took a huge loss. And we realized that, what we did was the beginning of a future for our people, because I wasn't there to get rich. I was there to help my people. I see these young children and these young kids that are dying of overdoses nonstop. And I was able to help them. I gave them a job. They worked to get off the record of all of the stuff that they were on paper for. They made $2,000 a week working in our grow. They were background checks, everything that we were compliant with the state. We helped so many Native American men and women be able to prosper off of our business. And when it wasn't like we were robbing or wanting money from the tribe, we gave the tribe money for them to prosper. And that's what I want to do with my people. My uncle is Alex White Plume. He fought the U.S. government for hemp, and he won. And I have been on every reservation. I have worked with gaming. I have had my own LED light business. My auntie is Roxy Sketchy. She owned the late Roxy. She owned Native, Womanize? Yeah. And my uncle is Don Rigona. My other uncle's O.J. Simmons. So I have that activist in me to be able to do this. And this is my sovereign right. And this is me as a tribal member knowing I have now the opportunity to do this for my people. I am done hearing about all our children dying of fentanyl overdoses. I have all the companies in California ready to go. I have contacted Wayne 2 years ago, told him about my ex-husband and Clay Clone, and had them try to set up a meeting 2 years ago to try to get this. I am able to provide the ordinance, the code, the rules, everything. My ex, we are ready to do this. And all I need is a right, my sovereign right to be able to grow on my reservation and help my people and employ them. And that's all I'm asking. I have people, different companies that are Native American. I work with Green Chief Farms in California. We already have a huge cultivation. I have scientists that are ready to come. I'm going to be working with this company called Vet Med, and they have their own resort. And that is kind of what I want to get out of the capitalists of owning a dispensary and a cultivation. Why don't we have a treatment center, a rehabilitation center for our people that are on drug and have overdoses and need help? I want to work with Narcan and be able to put vending machines of Narcan on our reservation. That's the goals that I am for. It's not to be capitalist because I was already there. And you know what? You're going to lose the money if you get greedy. And that's one thing I will say. But if you do it with your heart and you do it for your people, you will prosper. And I know that. I've seen it happen. And right now, the state of South Dakota has their sovereignty. And it is a plant that is teaching us our sovereignty rights. Because we can grow this plant tomorrow. We could have companies come in and we could do this. And we are not going to get federally rated. And that's huge. And that's all I'm saying, as me being my father's daughter, who's a medicine man, and my grandfather who has Sundances here, and my dad, that I want to help my people. This is my calling and my destiny. So that all I ask is you look at my right as a member to be able to do this. And I appreciate you for having me here and me being able to talk. Bess, you want to make a little statement and then we'll give up the mic?
Hi, my name is Vesta Carlson. I'm Lisa Colm's daughter. A lot of y'all might know me. I'm an enrolled member of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe here, and I just want to put on record that I support the use of medical and recreational marijuana, and I feel that cannabis is the gateway out of drugs on the reservation. I would like the opportunity to help in any way possible, so thank you for taking my testimony on record. But Mary J. Ullman, she wants to be a part of whatever I do. And she just had hit Forbes magazine. You can look her up. She's totally for everything that I'm doing. She wants to be on board for it. So it's not like you're not going to be in the public eye. You know, it's not like you're not going to make this corporate money that everybody wants to make. But you are going to help our people. And that's the thing. We can't help that generation of the meth and the opiates, and we can't. But what we can do is save the youth, these kids that, you know, are feral kids and don't have parents and don't have things. That's what I look at. I'm a mother, you know. I love my children, you know, and coming from not growing up on a reservation and then coming to the reservation, damn right I'm going to step up and help. And it's my sovereign right as a tribal member to do this. And if I can't do it, I'll do it in another tribe. And then eventually my tribe will follow me because I know my elders will be behind me because I have a good heart and I'm a good person. And I know that what I'm doing isn't trying to make anybody rich. It's trying to heal our people. And that's something that we forgot and our ancestors need to be proud of us. That's all I have to say.
I think before we move on, if any of the council reps would like to speak to any of the things that have been raised, I wanted to offer you that opportunity.
Lisa, Tara, so you're on this ordinance, the one you're just wanting to have changed specifically is 17-3-, right? And not have wholly, but to open it up to the membership.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing that you were asking was about how do you get on to the controlling body after, well, hopefully if it passes, we're going to be advertising eventually for the
Cannabis control.
Cannabis Commission. And so that'll be a public deal, just like the Hemp Commission.
That starts on page
Has to have so many members.
What page?
34.
Also, my husband, he has 3 licenses, state licenses. First Native Americans get state license, cultivation, manufacture, and distributing. He has a dispensary up in Beverly, in state, and he's ready to go. And he's ready to do this right. He said he would even do my business plan for free. He can go ordinance. I mean, he's ready to come in.
Thank you for that information, but I just want to remind you that this is just a public hearing. We're not taking solicitations for anybody in the cannabis industry today. And I'm not saying that and trying to be rude by any means. I just want to let everybody know that here today, we're not accepting solicitations. The tribe has a procurement policy, and today is only specifically for changes in the code. So if there's an opportunity for people to apply for or answer a solicitation, it will be bidded out in the proper way. It'll be out in the paper and other platforms for you to be able to do that. But thank you for that information. Green is on.
Green is go.
Yeah, green is go.
Hi, my name's Hihama Chasha. I think where I should start with has to do with our policies, procedures, bylaws, constitution. So initially, we did have a public hearing. The time frame for advertisement was met with that. However, since this has come back, this is totally different from what was initially held at that public hearing. Therefore, I'm going to say that the requirements weren't met as far as having a public hearing for this. That's my first issue with this. It would be in the best interest of the tribe and tribal members if there was an amount of time for people to hear about this through advertisement over the radio, at least 30 days. That's what we're, that's what it was, is 30 days. I think that 30 days is necessary for this because this is a lot of paperwork to be handed out in 3 days. And like I said, it was a total different change from the 3 pages or 4 pages we first saw at the public hearing. The next issue is, or not issue, that my next concern has to deal with the tribe being the sole administrator of the marijuana business. I feel that the tribe, yes, should be able to do as it please, open up a marijuana related business, whether that be a dispensary or a farm. However, I also feel that opportunity should be open to tribal members as far as being able to have a licensed dispensary license, cultivation license. My reasoning, it goes back to quite a few things. So to kind of push what I can, I guess. So this entire ordinance, what I feel should happen as far as the medical marijuana, I feel the tribe should be in charge of the medical marijuana program. I feel that they should be in total control. I make no arguments as to that. However, I feel that what should also be implemented in here and what should be changed, instead of this process you're looking at, this kind of business model you're creating with this legislation, I don't think is going to help much. I think what should be done as far as medical is we need to change everything to where individual tribal members have grow licenses so they can grow, in their home, have a set amount for, say, what was Colorado's limits? Was it 6 plants or 12 plants? And with that being said, you know, I'm kind of going to cover a lot of things, and this has to go back to something I haven't even brought up yet, which is the enforcement. So we have Marijuana Commission who does the enforcement. However, there's some things in there. I'll give you one example. It said something about you can't have a spouse or family member that's on council or something to that effect and be on the commission at the same time. Who's going to enforce that? That's the commission enforcing itself. So there does need to be thought given to, yes, we do need to have a commission, but we also need to establish an enforcement officer. I say an enforcement officer because we're going to need a comprehensive program to be able to try to regulate what we have going here. And with our law enforcement, with the budget that they have, what we get from the United States and what our tribe supplements to our law enforcement division, patrol, streets, courts, we don't have enough to really try to enforce this. There's some things that I know from being here, from living illegal. I know if once you start crossing the boundaries of over-regulation, which is what a lot of our tribal members think that we're headed to, which kind of feels like it, they're just going to buck the tribe. And what I mean by buck the tribe, they're going to continue doing what they're doing. There's always been cartels and criminal organizations, corrupt entities and bodies that have been a part of our tribe that I feel that are going to exploit some of the things. And how we can control that is if we have an enforcement department, and people are allowed licenses to say grow their own plants or produce their own extracts. They can, you know, I bet you anybody's willing to submit paperwork that says, yes, you can go ahead and search my home, do what you please, look around, have at it, you know, just as long as I can grow this medicine and not have to go to the hospital and go suffer what they put me through. That would give power to the tribe, because what you would be doing is enabling the people. Once you enable the people, then you get kind of a cohesive network. Then, you know, through the years, from what I've studied and watched with other states, they start looking out for each other. And what I mean by that is when you get a criminal organization and you start seeing someone infiltrate licensing other organizations, they start to step in because they don't want this business ruined. They don't want to lose what they have. So I think with this, we should give consideration to allowing individual members, as I said, the ability to grow on their own, because everything here is based on a capitalist business venture. And if we're really about truly helping the people, what we should be doing is, like I said, giving them licenses, and therefore we could create other programs on some of the taxes and revenue we collect to help the enforcement department, et cetera, et cetera. So as far as this program, I wish, you know, that's the direction it should take. And when I looked at the, when you apply for your registration card, the qualifying medical conditions, that was pretty much the only thing that stayed the same from the prior hearing we had. It stayed the same to the fact it was to the T. And when you look at it, I have a hard time understanding it, because it gives, the first paragraph gives you a few specific examples of what meets criteria. Then there's a catch-all sentences where it says any licensed physician who feels a person can benefit from marijuana maybe. I mean, if you're gonna insert a catch-all phrase in that, just eliminate everything else and put in there that if a medical practitioner feels their patient can benefit from marijuana. Just leave it at that, because if you want to list all this, you should be including other stuff like post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, muscle atrophy. I can't even say that. But there's a whole host of conditions that should be listed. And if they're not going to be listed, just take that other stuff out and put in just that one sentence. And to kind of push further on that, I feel that also, with what I've seen from other states, from other, some tribes' medical marijuana program, there's conditions to be met as far as when a doctor is prescribes a certain type of medicine. So if a doctor prescribes, say, so-and-so 1 ounce of flour, they feel that there should be a set criteria for that. It's like, okay, so he meets these conditions, you know, they're allowed this, where somebody else who has, say, cancer, or who has debilitating daily pain or something along those, some chronic condition that severely affects their lifestyle, they should be, you know, allowed more than just flour, where they're allowed concentrates or edibles, because I still feel that when it comes to marijuana, that they should be treated differently. Flour should be treated different than edibles. Edibles should be treated different than concentrates, because one thing people don't understand with all this new legislation proposed on every state level and on federal levels is the one thing everybody's not pointing out is that, yes, they are pushing to legalize marijuana, but when it comes to concentrates, they are still keeping that on the Schedule 2, I believe it is. Therefore, continuing it to make it federally illegal, even though everything else is passed. So that's something that needs to be considered, and I think guidelines such as, okay, if you're going to prescribe this patient 100% THC of cartridge, you know, I think it would help if there was a system to where, okay, yeah, of course, you know, they have cancer, you know, that's an automatic. And that's just dealing with just the medical marijuana program. And again, it kind of goes back to allowing individual tribal members a license where they can make their own edibles. It all goes back to enforcement. You know, how is a lot of this going to be enforced? How is a lot of this going to take place? I'm not worried about the administrative things that need to be created, the policies. It's all right now. It's all about law enforcement, because we still have a major drug epidemic problem here on our reservation, and it's changed, and it's in the monster that it's become. And when I say it's changed, is that these cartels and these organizations, they have to have meetings. They have to sit down and sit here and talk about this. And the only way I say that is because of some of the things I've noticed here on the reservation since the tribe has kind of taken this avenue of legalizing. What I've seen out there is they're starting to push other drugs. They're starting to push other drugs on our people. If our tribe cannot control the major problem, the major epidemic we have right now, which is meth, how are they going to control the influx of illegal marijuana products? They can't. They're not going to. How is the tribe going to enforce any of this? You can put this legislation down as much as you want, add or take. How are you guys going to enforce it? You can't. You have to engage the people, because what will happen when we start facing things where people don't get what they want around here, they will do things that with or without your approval. And that's what I see happening. It's what I don't want to happen. Everything that's here so far, there was no changes to our criminal codes as far as marijuana. They're still on Schedule 2 for our tribal drug code. There was no changes to that. Our last ordinance, I don't know where this came from, but anyone caught with over an ounce spends a mandatory time. It really doesn't get us too far. So that's just kind of my opinion, kind of a base layer to start kind of going into what some of the things I think should be addressed. Now, to get into this specifically, just as I stated before, I think we're kind of missing that requirement that this be published for 30 days. I mean, it can be debated. I think it's mandatory because this is, like I said, this is a total change. I think that what else is necessary, and not only to put this out there for 30 days, but what also is necessary is that the Attorney General needs to, or the tribe needs to direct law enforcement not to bother people when they come to these hearings. Some of the people that came to these last hearings were harassed by law enforcement. They were followed. They were investigated by coming to these hearings. I have proof of that. It's something that I can address here. It's not the place to address it. So I think that would be a door to open to allow people to come is, to avoid prosecution, number one.
I just want to respond to something really quick, just because we're on air and I don't want any misleading information. But we did decriminalize medical marijuana. That did pass. On February 14th, we had our final reading, so that did pass. February 14th, 2022.
It still doesn't stop the law enforcement from doing what they're doing.
Be interested to hear about that at another.
It's,
Said this isn't the right
yeah.
place. Thank you.
One of the bigger things to address with just this specific policy has to do with, number one is security personnel that are going to be guarding these sites. There is nothing in here that's addressing firearms and, concealed carry permits and medical marijuana licenses. As of right now, there are 2 cases. One is going to be coming up for appeals regarding medical marijuana license and a firearms license. There's one that already went through courts that came out of Colorado. The courts ruled in favor of the government that, no, you cannot have firearms and you cannot have a medical marijuana license. I believe that needs to be addressed and implemented or discussed and implemented in this code, because it will become an issue for the tribe, and it will be something that puts the tribe on the up in the Court of Appeals. It's something I see that can be trouble for individual members and for the tribe or any designated employees, because when you're dealing with transportation security services or any type of that, you need to detach it from the marijuana business. It needs to be a different contractor. When you're transporting large sums of money, often they want them to be certified to carry firearms. What if some of those people who are carrying firearms or certified also have medical conditions? Just to go back to that case from California, it was a veteran, a military veteran who had a medical marijuana card, who was working for a company guarding an estate that was a marijuana farm, had been issued weapons by the company and was charged by federal agents, went to court, and he lost. That's something we need to look out for as far as which businesses you put into, if it's the tribe or if the tribe contracts with somebody. That's something that needs to be addressed. There's kind of some general statements I saw in here. One of them has to do with, I'm sure you guys at this point know what a seed to sale system is. That's basically what some of these laws, like 2 of these sections, are going over. I think that should be consolidated into just one chapter regarding a seed to sale system, instead of spreading it out over the course of 3 or 4 chapters with a lot of redundant language. There's also something about the management of the site. There's a paragraph where it has a few redundant sentences in there. Huh? Okay. I'm going off the top of my head, so I'm gonna have to look for it with you.
Has to do with the building though?
Building or seed to sale?
Right now I'm moving into the part where it's like management, site management, or something along those lines, where it's requiring you to have it basically keeps saying that your facility needs to be clean and.
Oh, 1781.
Yeah,
Security
page
and site
33,
management.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was about this far back. Here we go. Yep. This isn't the one I was looking at, but it does bring up something I was going to go over. 17.8-2 disturbance of the peace. You're basically holding businesses accountable for the conduct of individual members that are not employed by businesses, that are not controlled by businesses. It kind of goes back to the issue of underfunding of law enforcement, code enforcement. I think that either needs to be modified or taken out, because what it's saying is that business is culpable. And if we go back to the very beginning of this ordinance, it says we're liable for criminal, civil damages. So I think that needs to be re-examined. But then again, right now, the tribe is a sole owner. That's one thing I don't know if I made clear. I think that I did skip that part. I believe we should be allowing tribal members the opportunity to have businesses. And you had asked me a question before as to how many businesses are, do we allow to open up here? Well, I have numbers for you now. About every 7,000 people, one dispensary. That I got from pulling numbers from here, using statistics, numbers I pulled from Colorado and Washington. And it's not solid because those populations don't have high American Indian population, so it's still an unknown variable here. But that's just a number I have for you now. And number two, how do we vet these businesses? How do we vet if we allow this to open up? How do we screen these businesses? How do we go about this so we don't end up allowing these criminal organizations to saturate? So I think number one would be the initial license fee. If you established a fee, and behind that fee, like how the hemp commission, how they had it set up to where it was an established business is a business of what, 3 or more years, 5 or more years. If we mandate a requirement that anybody applying for a marijuana related business license is an established business, that would be a great deterrent. I say that because what I've seen already is we have other organizations that are interested in seeing what happens here, and they intend to railroad a lot of us people who intend to open up locally. I don't want that happening by that tribe, and I don't want that happening from businesses that didn't grow from here, that businesses that aren't from here, businesses that come from Texas or from New Orleans that have no connection to tribal members, but they pick the tribal member to focus on. I don't want that happening. And I'm pretty sure gangs and that is the reason why the tribe wanted to go this way. So I would think this would be okay. And I think when it comes to allowing businesses, it should be for recreational. I think recreational should be inserted into this because we are very late behind the curve. It's been years I've advocated for this. I've pushed for recreational. I've pushed for individual licenses. And by the time we get this passed and get this implemented, every jurisdiction around us is going to have medical and recreational, and places like how we have Pine Ridge where they've allowed tribal members to open up. You're going to have such a saturation problem here that you cannot enforce anything. You're not going to see any relevant revenue or accomplishments come from this. I say that because if we can't get it from our tribe, we'll just go to White River where, so-and-so has $3 million just waiting for the state to approve them so they can open up. And since the tribe doesn't have the enforcement to carry that out, again, it goes back to empowering the people. So let the tribe run this program, implement licenses for recreational marijuana. But now that I've covered that, I'll try to get back to this, and I know we're on a time limit. There's just some things that I kind of saw over this, but to be honest, I think I've addressed most of the major concerns I've had. The rest of the stuff is just small administrative stuff that I'm sure can be taken care of once something is in place. That's all I have.
Thank you for that. It's always, I learn a lot listening. And, at least the last time. And I'm grateful for the the research because, you know, the one dispensary for every 7,000, I'd gone to Seattle a couple of years ago and it almost seems like it's on every corner. Kind of like, you know, Denver, you kind of see some of the same things. It's like everywhere. If it's zoned commercial, if it's zoned whatever, it's there. So the competition aspect, you know, what does that do for pricing? What does it do for, obviously, the more competition, the better the price. But then when you're talking about a government taxing it and other people taxing it, what happens is enough people get into taxing it, you basically priced yourself out, so people are going to go buy it without anything. They're going to go buy it without going through all of that. You're like, well, hey, I'm going to buy X amount, but I'll sell it to you for a little less. That way I don't have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah, I'll
That's,
kind of add on to that. We're having that issue already. Well, we already have that issue to where our streets are flooded with competitions, and I'm not afraid to say what I see is that there's competition amongst each other, and people go to Pine Ridge or they'll go to Flanger or they'll go to different places and they fight for business over each other, and which is great. I say it's great because these cartels are being driven out by that. That's what I see is they're losing money, and
so what can we do to limit these cartels, these unsavory business interests? Let's say I know that Tennille wants to start an operation. If I come up with 50,000 cash, I'll call on you in a second. If I come up with $50,000 cash, I front it to Tennille to set up the business, and I'm kind of a silent partner. How do I prevent that?
it falls back onto the enforcement part, creating an enforcement division that that is trained up by if the tribe submits a request to the United States government for training for these agents, these enforcement agents. If we build a program properly, we don't need many people for an enforcement division, maybe 3 or 4. But what they have as far as special powers and abilities is the ability to monitor and surveil that our regular tribal police don't have, or say our criminal investigators have to jump through hoops to do this or to do that. So the federal government maintains databases of everything. There's several programs, there's several types of push-pull data programs that can alert to certain people. Say El Chapo wanted to apply, but you know, we've all known El Chapo around here, great guy, never been in trouble, but we know his dealings. So I've thought about that myself. What you do is whenever someone applies for a marijuana related business, since right now it's such a hot topic and sensitive, you make that information public. You create this commission, you create a website, you create a Facebook presence, and when people apply for their licenses, and you make that public, and you tell the public if you have any concerns, issues with this business. Of course, you're always going to get somebody that's going to just jump in there to complain, just to complain, but it provides an avenue for better screening for background businesses. And when you implement other things such as credit check, as disclosing a 10-year financial history, there's some states that do this. They're a bit more restrictive, and it's basically because they deal with this more. California is one of the more restrictive. That's what they do, is they vet every employee, they vet every owner, and they require that anybody who's ever contributed funds to disclose all that information. And when they do their financial workup, one of the things is, where did you get this $5,000 to open this business? Where did that come from? Show us the paperwork where you received this money to open this business. That's a requirement among some states. So nothing's ever foolproof, but there are restrictions that we can put in place to help deter and prevent criminal activity. Like I said, it's not foolproof, but these are some of the things that we can do as we go, because from what I remember from past council saying that even just a few months ago, I remember council saying, when I say council meetings, yeah, we are going to have recreational one day. Yeah, we are going to open this up to businesses one day, somewhere down the road. Let's do that now. Let's just do that now and not waste time, because look how long this took. I've been at this since 2013. I've made attempts at petitions and been met with so much administrative requirements that kind of derailed my petitions. It's been a long effort, so why not just put that in here? And then we can start figuring out, okay, how are we going to vet these businesses so we don't allow criminal organizations? Because that's a concern of mine. It's always been.
Thank you. I know that, I'm sorry that Tara had something she wanted to add in that discussion.
I need to be excused. Sorry, I have some family responsibilities.
Okay, thank you. Tara, you had something that you wanted to talk about.
So, so when we partnered with the friends, like, what we did is, there's no, okay, so you have marijuana and it's on it, you see that I in the church, everything, that's money. People don't realize that until actually it starts growing, and they see that. And they do get, and you do have to work with the state and the tribe to be able to keep that work. And you do have to have security 24/7. You have to have surveillance. And even the people that are owners of the business, yeah, our lives are going to change. You do have to have security because you're bringing in millions and millions and millions of dollars. And yeah, you do have to fund. And you do have all these. But the thing that
they really see the difference is offer them people a job and change the way they think about everything also. When you tell these people, okay, you can have a job, you can work at this facility, pass the background check, you're 100% compliant with the state and the ordinance and the code and everything, then yeah, come work for us, you know? And that's when you're getting the drugs off the street. That's when you're actually doing something, because these people that are the drug dealers, they're now working for you, you know? And that's what I learned as being in this business. And you do have to watch your back. And I agree with him that you do. And for other tribal people that are going to be able to grow, if they do pass this ordinance, you are going to be able to have to be compliant with the state and with the tribe. You know, you shouldn't, I don't agree with just me having my business and being a tribal member. I agree. I want to work with the tribe, you know, because I do need that background of the protection of the tribe, because that's my sovereignty right there, making sure I'm okay.
Okay, so as I hear it today, just from the group, just to kind of summarize a little bit of what's been said, it sounds to me like the consensus from the public thus far is, you know what? And if I'm oversimplifying, I'm sorry. You know what? Pass the rules, pass the laws, but open it up for everybody to submit the license. We'll adhere to the laws. We'll adhere to all these things. And just, you know what? If you want to decide how many licenses you give, if you want to determine those things, fine. But if you're going to foster the economic development, it can't be close hold. So would that be a fair statement? That's kind of what you've said so far.
If wants to run a marijuana related business, hey, that's fine, but let me run against them, see who comes out top, you know?
Okay.
This
I
is
just-
also, like,
Sorry. Shoe Bear.
Good afternoon. Name's Wayne Baird, sit on the hemp commission.
Haven't done work.
Good afternoon, Wayne Barersholt. I sit on the Rosebud Sioux Tribe Hemp Commission as listening. I believe we're a little bit behind everybody else. The state has been opening up around us. Competition level's already there. As far as staying in compliance and keeping up with things, pass the ordinance, but make additions to it later. One is simple suggestions. Just keep it simple. If you're going to have a business, you have to be 51% at least tribally owned. You have to pass a background check. You have to have a compliance plan that states everybody in there, including people that are backing you, and they also have to have a background check too. Anybody that's investing. Now, we're talking about the Rosebud Sioux Reservation here, the Rosebud Sioux Tribe, the Chichango Oyate. This is a sovereign nation within a nation. We have no reason to be state compliant unless we want to be. I believe our sovereignty lets us do that. I've seen other tribes operate full blast now, make money. Their people are making money. They let their people open up the shops. That's what I'm saying too. It has to be competitive. If the tribe wants to do it, don't make it a 5-year stint. Make it a year stint to see what they can get out of it, because we're behind as it is anyway. Winter's got a flower shop right on Main Street. He knows that. He lives there. Colomb has one. All the way to Sioux Falls. They're open all over the place. This is the medical marijuana side of it. The recreational is coming. It's the government. Biden has already promised that he's working on legislation. The president has promised that he's working on the legislation to make it federally legal. So people are worrying about the small things in the background when the government's already working on it. We should be moving forward. My opinion. All this is my opinion. Up to you guys how you want to do it, but you guys have your own opinions on how to do it, but it should be open and license fees. Like you said, 5 years for those established businesses is a higher license. For the entrepreneur, there ought to be a lower license to get them started, help them get. Who's going to come up with 50,000 amongst our people? You know what I mean? How many of you got access to 50,000 right now? Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Right now.
I'll get there.
Okay. See? But where's that coming from?
It's coming from a veteran company that wants.
See? It's coming from another company, outside company. So, that being said, you got to watch out for that all the time. Our protection here is for our people. Our protection is to make sure our Oyate is coming up with ways to help themselves better themselves. This is what we're supposed to be set up for. This is what we're supposed to be doing. Not for some other big company to come in here and take over and run things for us. Just try to keep that in mind as we go through this. Thank you for letting me talk.
Oh, thanks, Shooter.
Yep.
I have something to say. It's a Native American company, and the guy has a nonprofit organization that he works for vets. And so it's not a corporate company, it's a Native American company that wants to come in and help us. It's not like they want to own anything, they want to help. Resources, and everybody's gonna want resources. Nobody's gonna be able to come up with that.
Yeah, 50,000 is a lot of money around here. I think Wayne had something. I can come back to you, Lisa. Oh, Sherry also has something before she goes.
He had a comment on 17-8-2. We left that in there, because that was a comment on that, because our compliance officers are gonna start moving towards being able to cite people. And a lot of the reservation is not zoned, whether it's commercial or whether it's our residential or whatever. So we wanted to leave that in there for the distributing of the piece, so that people, if they do, or the tribe does have a dispensary, then all hours of the night, they can't be having, headlights hitting people's houses, loud vehicles pulling up there. And it can go both ways. I mean, you could have like security, or you could have people working there come out and visit someone in the car, and then they're racking pipes off and stuff, or just riffraff like hanging around. So we left distributing the piece as a rule, so that people could actually be cited for, like, you have to have this cleared, and if I
based on that, if I wanted to run you out of the business, I would just hire people to come over and flash lights around, create a disturbance, make it not look like me. Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that's happened to me.
But not even just for the dispensary, even though you could cite the people that are in the parking lot hanging around.
That makes the dispensary responsible, that law.
Also charges, as I read it as well, every marijuana business shall take all reasonable steps to discourage. So all you would need to do to establish kind of the defense of that disturbing piece, if your business gets hit for that, you can say, hey, these are the reasonable steps I took.
But
So I think that's a defense to some of that.
when you leave a record like that, that opens that business up to more civil liability. All they have to do is go look all the complaints filed against them. I'm just coming at an avenue from a business or a person that's been, I've faced a lot of people here.
This happened to you.
It's happened. It's going to continue happening. It'll happen to everybody else. It's just the way things are here. I think that needs to be reconsidered.
You had something for you to go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know that, the document was available through the secretary's office and you'd have to request it. But I know that there was comment that this was only, not, that we did not give 30 days, but we did give 30 days notice, and I'm not sure how that notice was sent out. Do you know how it was sent out? Do you know if the secretary's office published it, or?
I think they had asked earlier in the week about it, but you know what, I can certainly make available copies and we can certainly run it, 30 days from here to take in comments from everybody. That way nobody, one of the things that's a benefit of is kind of something that Hehan mentioned earlier, was that, if people were getting harassed for coming to this, I'd rather you just drop it by the office.
Yep.
We get traffic in and out of there.
Yep.
People can come in and drop stuff off. So I will say that for anybody who might be watching and everyone here, that our office will accept comment. What's today, the 21st?
Yeah.
Take until June 21st. Just know that, this whole ballot initiative,
June.
I think things are
Did
going
you
to
say November?
after they pass. I'll take comments till November 21st.
Okay,
Okay.
I think
Thank you. That's kind of what I was getting at. And, I also want to mention that I'm not sure if our tribe has, adopted or created hearing procedures. I couldn't find any, but, I do think we need to develop some so we're not,
Hearing procedures.
hearing, like the hearing procedures, public hearing procedures. Yeah, so, because I feel like there's been a misunderstanding between, who's publishing this, where they can get the documents. And, if that was on us as a committee to do, then, and we didn't do that, I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
there's
Thank you.
some in the election code and law and order code. That's where I'm getting my information from regarding hearings.
The law and order code for public hearings to change an ordinance are very vague. It just says that we have to host one, but there's no procedural, no like official procedure to how it should be held.
I agree.
So that's what I was getting to.
Anyway, so.
And I agree. That's what I was asking from you and Jordan today. I was like, what's the protocol? Like what, on the hearing itself. So just closing up, I want to thank the couple of council members that are here because this is really, really important. I want to encourage other council reps to, be present at these if they're not, at least dialing in. But mostly I think we're in agreement here about us as tribal members wanting to just be included in this. And I'm really glad to hear, because that was what I was going to comment on, was, to open up this period of comment and people can get a hold of Lloyd Guy or their council representatives, whoever they feel comfortable with, so as long as it gets to you, right, Lloyd? And then also the last thing is I would like to see published on, I don't care if it's our website, the Facebook page, just somewhere public, of how this input was or was not included in the ordinance. So like we're providing this input and I can go to back to the, document here, our constitution, and kind of figure out some stuff, of course, but, where do we see this? Like, how is this process? You're taking our, information and our thoughts and concerns. So how is that going to be included in this ordinance, if any, thing is going to be included? And then, make sure and really advertise what is going on with this, marijuana ordinance, so that people are aware of it, because I don't really think people were aware of it, or they were scared to come. I don't know what the low turnout, of only 4 tribal members outside of council being here today on such a really important issue.
So, when a committee brings an ordinance forward or a change to the law and order code, it's that committee's responsibility to host a hearing. And then, we have a first reading, and then we can have the final reading within 7 days. In this instance, we had our first reading. We're going to hear public comment. If there's any changes to the ordinance, we're going to revert back to the first reading. So, and what that means is council will have to read the entire 42-page document. And that was a pretty boring day. So I think a lot of people logged out of council. I mean, I know I got a message saying, "What are you guys doing today?" But so that first reading has to happen again if we make changes to the ordinance, and then we'll have to have the second reading within 7 days. Then the change will be published in the paper. So that's going to be a huge change. Well, it doesn't say necessarily what paper, it just says that it has to be published for 10, and then after 10 days of being published, it goes into law. So I hope that answers your question.
I wanted to add that every hearing, meeting, conversation I've ever held regarding this issue with public entities, council, past forum, everything that the public has brought up was completely ignored up until this meeting. I have said the same thing for since 2013. What these ladies came here and addressed, what I came here and addressed, what Shu came here and addressed, what others came here and addressed in the prior meetings, all of it was ignored. Not one of them, not one consideration was given to anything that was spoken about. So I would ask if this body, this hearing results in tribal members being included. Because I'm not going to stop if we get railroaded again and nothing comes of this. I'm still going to push forward. So just understand that there's been a push to allow marijuana related businesses licenses for members. There's been a push for recreational for a long time. So please make those changes.
Just want to add, so if these changes don't happen, what are my options as a tribal member and business and educated in this business? Like, what are my options? What is my opportunities for everybody to see what I want to, do for my tribe?
So I think one of the things from today, since I basically said that accept comment for another 30 days. Sorry. I always think my voice carries without it. And so, I take your concerns, and I had said that we'll open it up for comment. The people can drop off for the next 30 days. So even though it's had its first reading at council, we've had this meeting and really some of the concerns that were raised regarding notice, we need to address those concerns first, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, the things that were suggested here today were pretty significant. I mean, one is, the inclusion of the people and kind of the discussion and kind of the early stuff. We make reference to the conversation, the Oyate, included in the language.
Yeah.
That's the first thing, and that's kind of what Lisa covered out of the box. The next thing is you're okay with the framework, but you want to open it up to beyond Redco. You want it open to where you're competing against Redco. And I think that's really kind of where the people benefit, because it's kind of the medicine, right?
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
the medicine, it's the healing.
yes.
So more competition breeds better pricing. More competition, breeds more investment. We have an unemployment problem here, and everything that I'm hearing today kind of speaks to that. So when you ask about your options and you ask about, what's to come afterwards, I would tell you that the suggestions, and that's why I like when they record these things. That way the people can see that. That way the 20 people that sit around this table can see that. They can't say that the public wasn't heard because, well, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah.
So I think if they take those concerns to heart and, they heard some of the things I believe that you had said today, you're talking about, potential investment, accessibility to resources.
Huge resources.
Well, you don't have to
Like
convince me.
cookies.
$11 million
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
I don't care who you're talking to. I don't care what the conversation is. That's a lot of money.
I would, if this does able to go into our favor, I would love to have another hearing and a meeting and have my colleagues fly down from California and be able to, tell about what they have done in California for not just, in
You're speaking of
other
medical
people,
rehab.
medical rehab,
what-
facilitations, like I do want a dispensary and I want to go 50-50 with the tribe, minority woman, business owner, like that's great. But I really want to see something further happen with this. And that's the medical use. Like we have the IHS and we have pills. Why can't we have an IHS with marijuana? And really, cannabis and decolonize it and make it pejuta, our medicine, and that's what I'm trying to, and I've even implemented that with my uncle Alex, he wants to start something too. And I've told him we got to make this here, louder, because we're the pioneers. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
So one suggestion I have for you, and this is kind of outside the public hearing, but I think one suggestion I would have for you is to get on the agenda of economic development. And I think if you're talking about presentations, I think that's something that you can schedule with them. You can schedule with the council. And I think that gets more attention than if you were to come here.
Yeah.
I think to get more bang for your buck, so to speak, I think meeting directly with the council and making that presentation, and we've got, kind of the things where we can have a presentation of sorts.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that's probably a better avenue for it than to basically reschedule this discussion. I think we have those comments over the next 30 days. I think as we're putting these things together and we're talking about these things and how to move forward, that's part of your advocacy here today.
Yeah.
You're like, well, let's open it up to everybody. And if you open it up to everybody, here's what we can do. So I think that's kind of a natural moving of that discussion. So when you're talking about your opportunities, I think that's ultimately up to you and how you present it to the council.
Okay.
So those are my suggestions. Royal, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. Hi. I just like to say, Royal the Yellow Hawk, and I endorse medical marijuana. So I'd just like to say that much.
Okay.
Ployapalo.
Oh, thank you. Also, I would like to have a where we have a festival of education for the tribe, because I think that everybody's really scared of this and the ordinance and with everything, and there's so many want it,
that I think that they really, like the elders, need to educate them on how this medicine is, how to properly use it, you know, and not just say, oh, put it in a dispensary and here you go. This is how you do it. No, like he was saying, we do need to properly use this as, you know, our medicine. So
Marijuana conference.
yeah, like a marijuana conference for, you know, our tribe to be able to show how we are going to not just use this as opening a dispensary and getting, you know, corporate and just all this other stuff, but actually implementing the medicine as it's really used for. And, you know, that's something that I can offer with my team in California, you know, a huge, you know, where it's a huge base of everybody working together and helping the youth, you know, and helping, you know, and this is the thing, like I'm a Native American woman and I look at all these other Native American women and they could be just like me someday, you know? And that's an amazing thing. Why wouldn't you want to start this medicine and keep on going and going and going and starting generational wealth for our people? And that's what I just want to consider, that I'm here as, you know, just a member. And this is my, you know, time and I just want opportunity.
I don't know. I kind of blanch when people say, well, I'm just a member. Well, no.
Well, it's an honor. Yeah, but it's an honor to be a member. But when you humble yourself, I'm just a member. I'm just trying to help. I'm part of that Tioshbe. I'm not the whole Tioshbe that's going to come in and be the magic wand. I'm just a member trying to help. You know? I don't want, yeah.
This is what I hear, it's just kind of a natural.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, you know, this is what I feel like I'm here for.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, give him the mic.
So, there you go.
I just wanted to state that my name is Keith Randall and I do endorse the medical marijuana.
I think we can pretty much wrap it up. We're the only ones left here, but I did like kind of the idea that she brought up, you know, of like having actual, you know, with booths. And that would really, as we move down the road, right? And this goes, and we pass our ordinance and so forth. But for those tribal members that have resources and to offer, you know, to have like a consent, allow them to showcase that. And allow the council reps to walk through and our constituents, our tribal council president and the decision makers, the directors of our programs, so that people can showcase that and just show what kind of resources they have to offer the tribe.
Sure. And I think, you know, a number of our council reps have been to different trade shows and everything else, and it helps bring something like that here, maybe set something.
I need a little bit
Where there is a thing where we can, you know, kind of inform the public.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of it's like, oh, everybody's gonna be smoking pot, there are gonna be car accidents, all that.
Yeah.
It's more than that. You need to be a little more enlightened.
Yeah.
And that's like anybody in the public. Good afternoon.
Hi, my name. Hi, my name's Robert Gassman Jr. and I endorse marijuana. Medical marijuana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd, for having us today, honestly. I know it's a procedural, you know, it's a part of the protocol, but.
Well, I learn stuff every time we sit down and say, you. And, you know, as I talk to people, I kind of recognize there are days I don't feel like I know anything.
I don't know nothing. I just know I'm experienced and this is what I do.
And you know, I think if I lived with it and she lived with it, I'd have that level of expertise.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm conscious of, whenever we put together things like this, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I mean, because if we reinvent the wheel, I mean, we'd be in about 3 years from now. And, you know, no one's ever going to really agree on language. I thought some of yours, and some people would say that's cosmetic. No, I mean, if we're gonna come, we're gonna move intentionally, let's talk about the people. And if you're gonna talk about the people and the people's role, then, you know, I hear what you're saying. Let's open it up to everybody. Let's have a commission. Let's have, you know, in compliance, that's gonna be kind of a growth industry around here, because we need a whole compliance division.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
land
gonna
use.
take everybody to do this.
Oh,
job.
sure.
And it's, you're also gonna have everybody working for you. That's the other thing, you know, like when we start the, what do we say,
Then you get into benefits, and then you get into other things.
yeah. But when we start the co-op, you know, and we start all this, the collective, you know, you're gonna have everybody that's gonna get paid for, you know, on the board too. So it's, everybody's gonna win, you know, if we do it right. And that's the thing, you know, is doing it right and doing it where it's real traditional medicine and, you know, real scientists, real educated people, real people with experiences, you know, that have been through the trenches and made it through the trenches to be able to stand here today. You know, and that's what we need.
And one of the comments I heard today was when Keon said that, you know, he was talking about the listing of the conditions of that. And I think the reason why it was worded the way it was every day there's a new study. There's something, you know, hey, this relieves this and this. So I kind of liked his suggestion of where it's like, you know what, if a physician says it's good, or that you can benefit from it, because every time you get a medicine, you know, from a pharmacy, it says, your doctor has decided that this has more benefits outweigh the dangers or whatever. This is that. So, you know, marijuana, if you're doing that, you're not doing some of these other Schedule II narcotics that you're being prescribed that you get hooked on and that really have the high capacity for addiction.
Well, you look at people that have been overdoses. You know, we say the meth is bad, but we're covering our eyes with the meth, basically. And that's the truth. You know, and that's where we have to open our eyes because it's happening. Our youth is going to deteriorate numbers if we don't do something. And I am here to warn because I've seen it. And even in Sisseton, they had so many, you know, people passing away left and right. And it was basically the young ones because the dealers were going to the young ones. Because why? They're neglected. So they have to survive. And it's just a bit of survival. And we need to start having our people say, no, you don't have to live on a reservation to just survive. You can survive. And you can have jobs. And we can provide you and actually take your sovereignty and you will succeed and children will prosper. And, you know, that's what I've seen with what we did with Red Pill in that tribe was, you know, young men working and young women, and they were happy because they were able to help their grandma, you know, support their kids. And that gives them confidence, and that's what our people are lacking. And that's why they go into the drugs and they go into the alcohol and they get, you know, on these addictions is because they have no outlet for anything.
So the benefit of your experience in that area is that it sounds like, you know, the Red Crow experience is a case study. Hey, this is before, this is what we did, these are some of the things we did. I think, honestly, if you can demonstrate that, it really adds even more weight to your argument.
Well,
You can demonstrate.
yeah, I can. And that's the thing. Like, I have people still contact me, like, Carrie, you changed my life. You know, you helped me get off drugs. I'm raising my kids now. I got my kids back, you know. My auntie, she survived from cancer. You know, working with kids with cancer, you know, and having a medical provider, you know, and people sit there and they say, well, you got federally rated, you didn't make it. You know what? I didn't. Because I made a ripple effect. and every tribe now is doing it. And I
Call
took,
it candidates,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
and we took the risk. And that's the thing, it's like, you don't, like, I was always told, you don't get what you, if you don't ask for what you want, you won't get it. Yeah. And that's why I said, what are my options and my opportunity as a tribal member? And what are you gonna give me? Because I don't wanna come at you and fight with you over this. I wanna work with you and build a community and a strong foundation, like I have seen it prosper. And I know.
And I think that's kind of the spirit in which I took it.
Yeah.
So, you know, economic development, health board, I mean, especially, I don't know how far we're gonna get with IHS and that, because it's still a controlled substance. And until it gets taken off by, you know, Congress, and, you know, I think Cory Booker and those guys are working on basically removing it, so that the FDA has control over it and not the DEA. The FDA should be managing it like they would a drug.
Well, we could always create our own, right? Because we can have our own, medical and
Insurance.
social.
Insurance. So I'm not meaning to cut in, but this has always been something. One of my business partners always said, like, okay, so we give them a token, right? And instead of giving them money, they can go to the dispensary or the clinic and they can get exactly what they want from this token, you know? And then, like, my business partner too, one of my friends, he told me that, what if, like, we were able to go international on our dispensary and people were to buy tokens international, and then when they come on the reservation, we have these tokens and we collect these tokens, and we're not even using money anymore, so we don't have to worry about getting robbed because we're being currency. You know, and it's like one of my other friends, he developed the IP or an app to keep all of our farming and everything on our reservation, and nobody can even link into it.
Neil, did you have something to add? I thought you were trying to get my attention. Okay.
So,
Sorry,
you
Sarah, go
know,
ahead.
them are the people I work with, you know, 20 years experience, professors, you know, medicinal license, 90 medicinal licenses this guy has done, you know. And it's the thing about it is it's like when I talk to my friend, they just want help. You know, why I got on Green Chiefs Farm was because I had a war cry from my people and they listened to me. They developed pain cannabis. They developed my own clothing that I'm going to start soon. So I can, you know, do what I do, tell people about this, go to these conferences and tell them. Because people don't understand this. They think when I talk about pills, oh, they're swallowing. Oh, that's how they're overdosing. They don't understand that they're smoking, they're snorting, and they're misusing them, and they're getting them off straight. You know?
Good at fentanyl, like sidewalk chocolates.
And it's cheap. I mean,
one of my significant others, he died of an overdose in my arms. So I told him, I understand.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier about basically having Narcan
Yeah.
vending machines.
And
It's
that's
not widely accessible and should be.
it should be, because, you know, okay, so you go to the IHS and these people, they don't want to be publicly known that they need a Narcan. When you can go, you know, okay, assistant, there was one of my cousins, her grandson died of an overdose, and she didn't know how to do the Narcan. Nobody's educated on the reservation even about how to use Narcan. They give them one shot and think that's it. No, you have to give them 2 shots, or maybe even 3 sometimes, you know? But people don't understand that. And then by the time the paramedics get there, it's too late. You don't have a chance on fentanyl. It's lights out, you know? There's no coming back. I have people that contact me and say, my sister died of an overdose. You know, what do I do? What do I do? How do I not get angry, Tara? How do I not go after these people? You know, you went through this, you know? And that's my war cry. Because when it starts happening on my reservation, let's see, it's coming. It's here. It's here, it's just quiet. And they are starting to press these pills and they're starting to make them look like they're opiates and that they're 97% fentanyl on it. And just one little crumb of that is gonna kill 500,000. That's basically what it is. And, you know, now they're putting it in meth. Now they're putting it in marijuana. So I've heard from the cities up there, I know all the underground people too, around here. And I've heard from the cities, you know, Minneapolis saying, no, don't mess with that. They're sending that down there to kill other people. Don't mess with that. So we have to stop that, you know, and it's like Sisseton. They just went and arrested 3 tribal members. They gave them 40 years in prison and a $5 million fine. That's what we need to start doing. We need to start working with also the state too. Even though we're south, we can't handle it. If the tribal cops could have handled it, we wouldn't have it on corruption on the reservation. So obviously we need more help and more hands instead of just thinking we're falling off the cliff, you know, and no one's going to help us. Because Sisseton and Wapaton, they now have feds on the reservation. They now are busting people. They found 500 fentanyl pills. Imagine what 500 fentanyl pills can do. It can wipe out all the population. You know, and you know, and that's what, like, I go to these conferences and I tell what's going on to people because nobody's out there. I'm the first woman that's in cannabis business that's talking about opiate use. You know, talking about fentanyl overdose. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and why isn't there other people? Why is it such a hush-hush situation? Why? Because we are immune to it. And we need to stop being immune to what's happening to our people.
Blind ignorance that it's something else.
Yeah, but it is.
You know, we kind of learned that with COVID. Like, yeah, okay, we're not in New York City, you know that, but we're still going to have those impacts. You know, I think we lost like 26 relatives. They could have been a lot worse. And, you know, you tell those relatives, love those relatives, oh yeah, it's not going to impact us. No, everyone will play it.
My auntie,
Still hurt.
my auntie died. She died of COVID. You know, she was the educator for people and stuff. You know, so.
I'm sorry.
So you know, like.
I get to know though, I mean, you know, like that's where her heart is at and what, you know, the purpose, a lot of her purpose is to help with these drug overdoses that occur. And using medical marijuana to help people come off of opiates and other addictions.
Benefit, I think, of what we have here.
Yeah.
Is it's going to have a wider application.
Oh.
Not just medical, recreational, or, and so